A car door slammed outside, sharp and loud enough to yank me awake. Usually, in our Brooklyn neighborhood, car sounds were just part of the city hum, fading into the background noise. But this time, it cut through the quiet, snagging on something inside me, a little jolt of wrongness. The clock glowed 2:50 a.m. Sarah wasn't beside me. My hand went to her side of the bed, the sheets cold and empty. No explanation there, just a bigger hole where she should have been. Then another sound, faint but clear, the front door lock clicking open. My chest tightened. I slipped out of bed, quiet as smoke, and stood in the hallway shadows. The front door creaked, inching open. Sarah stepped inside, heels dangling from one hand, phone clutched in the other. She didn't see me. Her hair was messed up, lipstick smeared a little at the corner of her mouth. But it wasn't just how she looked, it was how she moved, creeping in like she was breaking into her own apartment. "Where have you been?" My voice sliced through the dim quiet. She jumped, head snapping towards me. Panic flashed across her face, then smoothed over, replaced by a wide, fake blink. "Jesus, Mark, you scared me!" Her hand flew to her chest, like I was the one sneaking around at this hour. My question hung in the air, heavy and unanswered. "Where were you?" I asked again, sharper this time. She huffed, rolling her eyes with this big, dramatic sigh. "I told you, I was with Jessica." But that car door slammed again in my head. A car that wasn't Jessica's. Doubt dug in, cold and deep. "You're lying." A beat of silence, a tiny hesitation. Then she laughed, a brittle, dismissive sound that tightened my fists. "Oh my God, Mark, are you even serious?" She brushed past me, her perfume trailing behind, but underneath it, another scent, faint but unmistakable. Cologne. Not mine, not hers. Something cracked inside me, a spiderweb of fractures spreading through glass. I stood there, breathless, the realization hitting like a punch. She kicked off her heels, stretching like nothing was wrong, like she wasn't wrapped in the scent of someone else. My jaw clenched. Whose car was that? She froze for a split second, then turned, another exaggerated sigh. "Seriously, you're still on this?" I stepped closer, voice low. "Whose car, Sarah?" Her eyes narrowed, her voice dripping with fake casualness. "Jessica's boyfriend gave me a ride, okay? Is that what you needed to hear?" I didn't blink. The lie was there in the tension in her fingers, clamped too tight around her phone, the quick dart of her eyes. I could have let it go, pretended I believed it, but then her phone buzzed. Sarah startled, thumb flashing to silence the screen before I could see anything. That was it. The final crack. I snatched the phone from her hand in one move. "Mark, what the hell?" she shrieked, lunging for it. I held it up, out of reach. "Who's texting you at 3 a.m? My voice was steady, but my hands were shaking. She clawed at my arm, nails digging in. "Give me my damn phone!" The screen was locked, of course. I breathed out sharply. "Unlock it!" Her face twisted, fury mixed with something darker. Fear? No, more rage than fear. "You're insane. You know that? You've completely lost it." She lunged again. I yanked the phone back. "Open it." Then she did something I didn't expect. She smiled. Not a nervous twitch, not guilt pretending to be a grin. A slow, deliberate, almost triumphant smile that chilled me to the bone. No. One word, sharp, final. And in that moment, the horrifying truth hit me. She wasn't scared of being caught. She just didn't care. I stood there, phone gripped so tight my fingers ached. The woman I thought I knew stared back, cool and indifferent. No scrambling for excuses, no tears, no desperate explanations, just that smirk. No? I echoed, my voice unnervingly calm, even as my insides burned. Sarah crossed her arms, tilting her head. You heard me. No, I don't owe you any explanations, Mark. Give me my phone. A bitter laugh escaped me. You don't have to prove anything. Exactly. She punctuated the word with a smug pop, snatching the phone from my slackened grip before I could react. Because I'm not going to stand here and let you act like some psycho-controlling husband. Something inside me gave way, crumbling silently. She wasn't even trying to deny it. Who is he? My voice lost its edge, softened into something hollow. She rolled her eyes like I'd asked her to take out the garbage. Go to bed, Mark. I stepped forward. She didn't flinch, didn't back away, just stared, victorious. Say it, I whispered. If you're not cheating, just say it. Silence. The space between us crackled with tension, thick and suffocating. Her jaw tightened, fingers tapping rhythmically against her phone. The facade was cracking. I could see the truth seeping through. She drew in a sharp breath, then laughed. Not nervously, not in relief. A cruel, mocking laugh that echoed louder than any confession. Oh my God, Mark! She burst out laughing, breath catching between chuckles. Oh, you're serious? You really expect some tearful confession right now, don't you? I didn't answer, eyes fixed on her as she stepped forward, slow and calculated. She closed the space between us, her gaze sharp and unyielding. Leaning in, her voice dropped to a mocking whisper. Even if I were cheating, what exactly would you do about it? A cold wave washed over me, numbing everything. She flashed a smug grin, sure she had won. But Sarah had no idea what was coming. I stayed still, unflinching. Didn't move a muscle, didn't even blink as she lingered close, her breath warm against my skin, eyes sparkling with misplaced confidence. She thought she'd won, that I'd back down, swallow my pride and ignore her betrayal. But she couldn't see I'd already started dismantling her lies. Slowly, deliberately, I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. A flicker of uncertainty crossed Sarah's face. Do you think I'm that naive, Sarah? I asked, my voice low but cutting. She rolled her eyes, a dismissive snort, but the cracks in her composure were widening. What? Planning to call the cops on me for having a night out? I ignored her sarcasm, unlocked my phone, scrolled through my gallery, and held the screen up for her to see. Her face drained of color as she took in the photos. Even under the dim streetlights, they were clear enough. Sarah with him. Sarah laughing beside an unfamiliar car, her hand casually resting on his chest, his arm snug around her waist. I'd trusted my gut that night, driven around after she dodged my calls and found her there. But I hadn't confronted her then. I waited, letting her weave deeper into her own lies. She inhaled sharply, visibly rattled. Where did you get these? Does it really matter? I replied coolly. Tell me his name. She licked her lips, scrambling for an escape, but there was none left. Then, with an indifferent shrug that almost made me laugh, she muttered, Fine, you caught me. So what? My grip on the phone tightened. So what? She huffed, folding her arms. You're acting like this is some kind of tragedy. People cheat, Mark. It happens. I repeated her words softly. People cheat, then added, but not everyone walks into their husband's apartment smelling like another man and laughs about it. She didn't even flinch. God, you're so dramatic. I stared at her, something inside me breaking free. Not anger, not grief, but a searing clarity. Sarah wasn't remorseful. She never thought she'd be caught, and worse, she didn't care. Taking a slow breath, I said, "Pack your things." She blinked, clearly thrown off. "What?" I turned away, walked to the front door, and flung it open. The cold night air rushed in like a verdict. Without looking back, I said, "You've got 15 minutes. Get out." For the first time that night, her confidence wavered. The smugness drained from her face, replaced by something raw, confusion, panic, maybe even fear. "You're kicking me out?" she scoffed, like I'd said something insane. "Mark, don't be ridiculous." Leaning against the doorframe, arms crossed, I replied, 14 minutes now." She let out a sharp, incredulous laugh. "Oh, come on. You're not seriously throwing me out in the middle of the night?" I stayed silent, just watching. That's when it hit her. Her eyes darted from the door back to me, searching for some sign it was a joke, but there wasn't one. Her lip curled in disdain. "You're such a child." I shrugged. "Call it whatever you want. Just don't call it your apartment anymore." That landed like a punch. She stepped closer, her voice tinged with desperation. "Mark, don't be stupid. You're upset. I get it, but you're not thinking clearly. Where am I supposed to go?" I chuckled darkly. "I don't know. Maybe ask the guy whose cologne you're wearing." She flinched, the first real sign of guilt all night, but it vanished fast, replaced by a cold, calculating glare. She straightened, squaring her shoulders. Then she made her fatal mistake. She smirked. "You don't have the guts. You won't do it." I smiled back. "Watch me." Without hesitation, I stepped forward, grabbed her purse from the couch, and tossed it onto the stoop. Her jaw dropped. "Are you insane, Mark? This is my apartment, too." "Not anymore." I snatched her coat from the rack and threw it out the door. 13 minutes! She snapped, storming towards me and shoving me hard in the chest. "You're out of your damn mind. You'll regret this." I didn't budge, just tilted my head, studying her, then calmly delivered the final blow. "You were never as clever as you thought you were, Sarah." Her eyes went wide. "Get out." And for the first time ever, she looked genuinely afraid. Sarah stood frozen, breathing ragged, fists clenched tight. I could see it all, her pride battling fear, her arrogance crumbling against the harsh truth she never saw coming. For years, she'd held the reins, pulling the strings, controlling me, this apartment, everything. But not anymore. The power had shifted, and she knew it. Her voice softened, dripping with false sweetness. "Mark, let's just talk." I exhaled sharply, shaking my head. "Talk? Now you want to talk?" She crept forward, steps hesitant. "I screwed up, okay? I made a bad call. But let's not do anything we'll regret." A bitter laugh escaped me, sharp and cold. The audacity. "Oh, really, Sarah? Funny how just minutes ago you were ridiculing me, laughing like it was all a joke." I tilted my head, examining her. "You weren't remorseful then, so tell me, what changed? Why the sudden regret?" She hesitated, thoughts racing, trying to craft a new strategy, a fresh angle to twist things her way. Then she found her footing. Her lips trembled, feigning fragility. "I don't want to lose you, Mark." There it was, the next act. False tears, hollow regret, the desperate plea wrapped in the illusion of love. I kept my gaze steady, silent, waiting for her true self to crack through the facade. It didn't take long. Her phone buzzed. Her eyes darted to it too fast, too telling. My gut clenched. Whoever was on the other end, she was still protecting him. And that's when clarity hit me. She wasn't afraid of losing me. She was scared of losing this life, the comfort, the stability, the ease. I stepped back, gesturing towards the door. "I won't say it again." Her jaw tightened, a shadow flickering behind her eyes. The softness vanished instantly. The mask shattered. Snatching her phone, her face twisted with rage. "You're making a colossal mistake!" There it was, the real Sarah. I gave her a cold smile. "No, the real mistake was marrying you 6 years ago." She gasped, like my words had struck her physically, but I felt nothing. I walked to the closet, grabbed the suitcase we'd bought for our honeymoon, and tossed it at her feet. "You've got 12 minutes. She let out a frustrated shriek, grabbed the suitcase, and stormed into the bedroom. I didn't follow, didn't speak, just stood there, arms folded, listening to the sound of her world unraveling. She tore through the room like a storm, yanking clothes from hangers, shoving them into the suitcase with such force the furniture seemed to shudder. Leaning against the doorway, I watched the final act of her pathetic performance. "I hope you realize how unbelievably stupid you're being," she spat, cramming a heap of shirts into the bag. "Throwing away 6 years over one mistake." "A mistake?" I echoed, my head tilting slightly. "This wasn't a drunken accident, Sarah. You didn't just stumble and fall into someone else's bed. You made a choice, over and over." She spun around, eyes blazing fury. "Oh, and now you're suddenly an expert on my life? Tell me, Mark, where the hell have you been these past few months? Because I sure didn't feel like your wife anymore." A sharp laugh burst from me. There it was, the deflection, the desperate scramble to shift the blame. Predictable. Right on cue. I nodded slowly. "I worked too much. I didn't whisk you away on spontaneous vacations. I didn't shower you with attention. So that's why you decided to sleep with someone else?" She flinched, just slightly, before her lips curled into a sneer. "You're disgusting." "No," I replied evenly, my voice steady as stone. "I'm done." She yanked the suitcase zipper so violently it nearly tore. "You think you're the first man to get cheated on? Grow up, Mark." People move past it. They forgive. Half the men you know stayed with their wives after being cheated on. I stepped closer, my voice low and firm. "I'm not them." Her nostrils flared. She grabbed a hairbrush from the nightstand, stuffed it into a side pocket, then flung open her jewelry box, scooping up handfuls of trinkets. "You know what? Fine. Play the wounded martyr. But when you realize how badly you've messed up, don't come crawling back." I stood there unmoved, completely done. Then something shifted. Her breathing calmed. She straightened her posture. Those calculating eyes narrowed slightly. The panic was gone, replaced by something colder. She was plotting. I saw it instantly, the gears turning behind her composed expression, recalculating her next move. She sighed dramatically, softening her voice as she turned back to me. "Mark, don't do this." There it was, the final card, the gentle tone, the pleading words, the last desperate attempt to sway me. I didn't flinch. I simply stepped aside, nodding towards the door. "Your time's up." Her face twisted with rage, but she grabbed the suitcase handle, yanking it off the bed with enough force to rattle the lamps. I didn't move, just watched as she dragged herself and her lies out of my life. Sarah stormed past me, the suitcase wheels screeching against the floor, her whole body radiating fury. But beneath all that anger, all that defiance, the truth was clear. She was still fighting for a win, because to her, that's all this ever was. A game. She reached the front door and paused, her back straightened. I recognized that pause, sharp, deliberate. She wasn't finished. Turning slowly, she locked eyes with me, a smug smile creeping onto her face. Then she dropped the final bomb. "You know," she said, her voice dripping venom, "you're not as innocent as you think you are, Mark." I didn't react, didn't blink. What's that supposed to mean? She stepped closer, dragging the suitcase behind her, voice soft but laced with poison. "You really think I was the only one in this marriage with secrets?" My jaw tightened. "Don't waste your last words here on pathetic mind games, Sarah." She laughed, slow and mocking, a sound that made my skin crawl. "Oh, Mark, sweet, naive Mark. You really think you were the only one paying attention?" A chill crept into my chest. She knew something, or she wanted me to think she did. "Say it plainly, Sarah," I said evenly. "Or are we just tossing around cryptic threats now?" I kept my voice calm, even as tension simmered beneath the surface. Sarah leaned nonchalantly against the doorway, her face a mask of indifference. "Maybe I don't need to explain anything," she said with a careless shrug. "Maybe people will figure it out themselves." And there it was, the real agenda, the veiled threat woven between her words. Sarah wasn't just trying to hurt me, she wanted to drag me down with her. I exhaled sharply through my nose, tilting my head ever so slightly. "Do you think it matters to me what you say after this? Go ahead, spread your lies. Let's see how many people trust a fraud and a traitor." For a brief moment, her smug smile faltered. I stepped closer, deliberately closing the distance. She shifted uneasily, the cracks in her armor beginning to show. "You're out of moves, Sarah. You lost, so take your hollow threats, grab your suitcase, and leave." Her face twisted with fury. She let out an angry breath, spun around, and stormed towards the door. But just before crossing the threshold, she paused, casting one final barb over her shoulder. "Enjoy being alone, Mark. You'll never find anyone better than me." I didn't hesitate. "I already have." She froze mid-step, her posture stiffening. For the first time that night, genuine pain flickered across her features. Her lips parted as if to deliver a retort, but she thought better of it. Her fingers tightened around the suitcase handle, and without another word, she walked out. The door slammed behind her, leaving a silence so heavy it felt like the apartment itself was exhaling after years of suffocating tension. She was gone. I stood still, fists clenched, heart racing. My body remained tight, expecting another confrontation, another manipulative twist, another attempt to claw her way back. But nothing came. No echo of sharp footsteps down the hall, no forced laughter lingering in the air, no late-night whispers pulling me back into her games. Just nothing. I let out a slow, shaky breath, the release unintentional. For the first time in years, I wasn't ensnared in a toxic game of mental warfare. I wasn't questioning my sanity, wasn't being twisted into believing I was the villain. For the first time in years, I felt free. I moved to the window, pulling the curtain aside just enough to see her standing by the curb, furiously typing on her phone, probably texting him. I watched, waiting to see if she'd glance back, seeking one last connection to the life she thought she controlled. She didn't. Instead, a sleek black car glided up to the curb, too expensive for Jessica's boyfriend, too prompt for someone freshly unmasked. She yanked the door open, slid in without hesitation, and vanished into the New York night. Letting the curtain fall, I exhaled deeply. I expected to feel broken, devastated even, but instead, I felt lighter. As her car disappeared down the street, a burden I hadn't known I carried lifted from my shoulders. No more paranoia, no more walking on eggshells, no more wondering if the woman beside me was ever truly mine. She was gone. Turning away from the window, I surveyed the living room, the battlefield of our arguments, the couch where she spun her lies, the doorway where I finally told her to leave. For 6 years this had been our apartment, but tonight, for the first time, it felt like mine. Running a hand through my hair, I felt the adrenaline still coursing through me. My heart raced, my mind spun, but beneath it all was something unexpected. Relief. I grabbed my keys, unsure of my destination, but I couldn't sit there, surrounded by the echoes of her presence. I needed movement, space, freedom. Stepping outside, I inhaled the crisp New York air, letting it fill my lungs with a sting that felt refreshing. Above me, the vast sky stretched out, endless and full of possibilities I hadn't dared to consider until now. As I descended the stoop steps, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, half expecting one last, desperate message from Sarah, a final hook to pull me back. But it wasn't her. It was a name I hadn't seen in years. Rachel. My heart skipped, but for an entirely different reason. Rachel, who had seen through Sarah long before I did. Rachel, who had warned me when I refused to listen. I opened the message. "Hey, I heard what happened. Just checking in." I stared at her words, a slow smile creeping onto my face. I typed back. "I'm good, actually. Really good." A pause. Then, "I'm glad. You deserve better, Mark." I exhaled, shaking my head slightly, the last traces of Sarah's poison finally leaving my system. "Yeah," I replied. "I did. And for the first time in years, I truly believed it.